Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm really happy to be here and to have the opportunity to present my research. So I study the persecution of Sinti and Roma in annexed Alsace. So I'm trying to understand how criminal police departments implement persecution and genocidal policy in an annexed territory. But here I would like to show you how I use post-war compensation files to document the persecution practices. So first, in this document, you see that a lot of police archives were destroyed after the war. So this is a letter of the criminal inspector of the Mannheim police, and he say in a compensation file that the documents from the Mannheim Criminal Identification Department were destroyed just in March 1945. So when the Americans were close to the city. And so when we deal with this subject, we face a lack of direct police sources. I think it's only in Köln or in Magdeburg that you have the gypsy police files, the Zigeuner Akten, but otherwise in other police departments and in Strasbourg also and in Karlsruhe, you don't have any nominative documents to make the history of the persecuted Sinti from this area. So the question is, despite the scarcity of direct sources, how can we document interwar everyday life, deportation policies, and persecution trajectories of Rhineland Sinti in a genocidal context? In a recently published article, Henning Borgraff lists different sources that can be used to document deportation policy. And here he quotes prosecuting, tracing, and compensating actions that can lead to the production of sources. So that I will try to do that here during this presentation, and I will focus on two case studies. So first, the 1940 May deportation from Karlsruhe to the general government in Poland. And then also the 1943 March deportation from Strasbourg to Auschwitz-Birkenau. So the thing is, in these two cities, Sinti and Roma documentation are really rare. Johannes Kaiser, I don't know if he's here, but yes. And he shows that after 1938 in Karlsruhe, there is a lack of police material. So I will try to show how can post-war reparation files can help us to document their pre-war anchorage, pre-war presences, and also perpetrator practices. So I will do like in a third step. So first, just an example of how a post-war reparation claims look like. So this is the first page of Eva Meinhardt reparation claim, and you have like really a lot of data, is her name, where she came from, and where she went also in Arbeitslager in Poland, and also in her reparation files, the police, post-war police, make an investigation also in their own archives. So here you see that you have like the reproduction of a document of 1934. So it's an observation of a police officer who say that the Sinti who lived near the city came from the Alsatian area. So that's why it's really interesting to study the Rhineland area as a shared space in both sides of the Rhine to understand the family ties and so on. So here it's interesting to see that in this post-war reparation file, you can find some pre-war police documents. Then also the police investigation when they are asked by the reparation office. They also try to connect with other police departments, such as München in Munich. So here you have a police report on Michael Weiss, and we have also information about his persecution and his racial identification before the war. So thanks to the fact that the Munich police department kept some information about him. So you see that there were also data exchange between Karlsruhe and München. But also in his document, in his reparation claim, you have also, as Lara pointed out, you have also employment certificates that can help us to understand their occupation and their inscription in a urban context, so in Karlsruhe. So Michael Weiss was a violin maker, and he worked with this really famous violin maker workshop in Karlsruhe, Eugène Valls, that in 1955 Eugène Valls wrote this affidavit to show that Michael Weiss had an activity, a professional activity in the pre-war years. What is important also in post-war reparation file is that you have also ITS, International Tracing Service, documentation, and here you can see the one of Franz Anton Reinhardt in 1958. So it's when there is a reparation claim, the Karlsruhe office sent a request to Bader Olsen, and ITS archivist sent back what they found, and so here you can know also that you have like the last address. So this is quite last known address. So it hints at spatial origin of the Sinti deportees. And when you gathered all this spatial information, you can find some trends as it is for the Karlsruhe city. So I gather all the Karlsruhe Sinti post-war reparation claims and trying to find what was their last address. And so you can see that they were all concentrated in a specific area in the Dorfel district, really near to the police station. So every last address known was inside this area. And so after, when you can also find some photograph of the buildings when you ask to the local archives, the Stat Archive. So this is one of the house where some Sinti families were lived before they were deported to Poland. You can do also the same thing for the Strasbourg 1943 deportation, as to document interwar everyday life, because in Saarbrück you have also in the Landesarchiv Saarland you have also post-war reparation claims, and here it's a testimony of Rudolf Gerst, who is a Sinti survivor, and he said that he lived, his family was at a puppet theater, itinerant puppet theater, and his parents moved to Strasbourg. And when the Saarland Compensation Office investigate, they send a request to the Strasbourg Municipal Office to be sure that the Gerst family effectively lived in Strasbourg, and so you have the answer of the in the same compensation file. You have the answer of the Bas-Rhin prefecture, who said that the Gerst family lived in 72 rue du Faubourg de Saverne in 1943. So as I showed you for Karlsruhe, this is the building where they lived just before being deported. So it's really near the railway station of Strasbourg. So this is what can be done to document the interwar context and everyday family life, but you can find so many more information in these files. Now, in this second part, I would like to show how these documents can also help us to understand perpetrator practices, because I'm sure that you know this photograph of the RHF, Rasseningenisch-Forschungsstelle, when they made their racial inquiries in the Baden region. But this is show like it shows the RHF gaze, like anti-Gypsyism gaze. So you see, for instance, that Sinto is doing a basket in like a traditional way, and they want to document like a really fantasized image of Sinti and Roma. But in the compensation claims, you have also testimony of how this operation were implemented on the ground. And so in Karlsruhe, as they were, it was not in the countryside, it was in a urban context. You see that there is a testimony of Hermann Meinhardt, who say that one day, so he lived in, I don't know if it's written, but he lived near the complex house I show you, the photography. And so he said that one day in 1939 or 1940, it was in 1938, precisely, we were summoned to an official building on the Marktplatz. I don't know exactly whether it was the police or the district office. We were summoned family by family and probably also according to the location of the apartments. In any case, the Meinhardt family together with the Weiss family were summoned. When we went into a room, we then went into a room one by one. There sat a man who supported by a young girl, determined our hair color, the shape of our head, and as we learned later, this man was from the Racial Research Hygiene Center. He knew things about us gypsies, he knew some of our nickname and some words of our language. So you see that it's from the persecuted perspective, and we can understand how the RHF build a network of data and they to identify Sinti living in the Karlsruhe area, and they even knew their nicknames and their family ties. So they were summoned in this building, so it's still in Karlsruhe. So it was here where the Dorfel Sinti, who live in this specific area, were summoned to be racially registered. Also, you can document the same thing for the Strasbourg area, as with Rudolf Gerst. Rudolf Gerst, you remember, he was the only survivor, and he says that his attorney who is speaking, yes, the applicant still remembers that he had to undergo a blood test, that a hair sample was taken from his head, and so on. So you see that in these two different archive centers to document two different deportation, 1940 and 1943, the Sinti survivor always say that they were racially registered by the RHF before the war. So that's how we can document state identification practices and the implementation of deportation policies. Because here I wanted also to show you a case of not in Germany, it's in Caen, so in Normandy. You have the archives of post-war claims for reparation, and here it's a declaration of Otto Merstein, who come from Alsace, and he fled with his family to Lille. And then he testified after the war in Forbach, so in Moselle, and in 1962, and he recalled precisely how they were arrested and deported. So yes, finally, I will show you also in this third part how you can understand the dislocation and destruction of some Sinti families, of the Rhineland Sinti family, and I will take a case study on Pauline Eckstein. We talk about the Eckstein this morning. I think it's another branch of the family. But in 1962, in a reparation claim also, there is a testimony, post-war testimony of Joseph Eckstein, and he recalls how he was arrested. Oh, it's here. You have like the address, Karlsruhe, 14 Markgrafenstraße. And you have like a really precise description of all the different stage that led him to the general government in Poland. And so it is really useful to know the places in Poland, because I think it's an undocumented subject, like the fate of Sinti and Roma in the Poland after the May deportation. And so yes, I just put in red like the place, and in blue the family linkage. And it can also be used for archivists to have like metadata and to link place and people for their inventories. And in this post-war compensation files, you also find archives that were produced during the war, as Pauline Eckstein kept her identification card issued by the general government of the Radom ghetto. So you can have also, you understand that she kept this document with her, and you can also, yes, make the history of her trajectory in the Radom ghetto. So this is a document that is extracted from the her reparation claim. And so to get back earlier, I mean, to document her full trajectory during the war, you can also find this. I show you that this document written by the police to know what she did before the war. And you understand that in October 1939, she was evacuated to Simbach in Bavaria, and she returned to Karlsruhe during the spring of 1940. And also that the Karlsruhe State Criminal Police know that she was labeled by the RHF as a mixed race gypsy, so Zigeuner Mischlinge, and was resettled. So this is a term used, even if in this document, to the general government. So finally, and I'm nearly finished, you can bring all this data together and build like a map, and that's what I try to do to show you how can we use specialized this information. This is not well designed, but it's like a first attempt to make some mapping of the dislocation of Sinti families from the Rhineland area. So you can see that I try to to synthesize the information I found in the post-war reparation claim, and to also understand that it was a genocide on a European scale also. So at the end, Pauline Eckstein came back to Karlsruhe, and she made this reparation claim, and she also faced what the jury called like a second persecution after 1945, and yeah. So basically, that's it. I will end it. Thank you so much.